Welcome and thank you for joining the Candidate Forum with Adyememi Oloruntoba, who's running as a write-in candidate in the upcoming on 12th district, on the 12th district. I'm Buki Shonoda, representing the United African Coalition, the host of this event. The United African Coalition, the United African Coalition, UNAC, is a US-based nonprofit and nonpartisan political institution representing the electoral politics of continental Africans in the United States. Our mission is to identify African professionals who are interested in public office and support them with the resources needed to get elected. We support the progressive agenda to fight for socioeconomic equity, to address structural racism, and begin tangible pathways to reconcile race relations in America, to save the planet, ensure a fair living wage, and strive to achieve overall well-being for all. So this special election is scheduled for December 22nd. And Adyememi Oloruntoba, I want to make sure I get your name right, and I'm Yoruba. Adyememi Oloruntoba is a candidate, is running as a write-in candidate for District 12. Adyememi Oloruntoba is a Nigerian-American. And this position, this seat that he's running for, actually bidding for, was held by formerly held by Andy King. Andy King was the former council member for District 12 of New York City Council. He was expelled in October. District 12 includes Baychester, Co-op City, Eden World, Eastchester, Wakefield, and Williamsbridge section of the Bronx. So welcome, Adyememi. And also, before you continue, I would like to, just one second. Yeah, there are two other candidates that are actually on the ballot that are running for the same seat. So candidate Pamela Johnson and Kevin Riley are the two candidates that are on the ballot. So Adyememi is not on the ballot. Adyememi is running as a write-in candidate. And I'd like to read to you what a write-in candidate means. In other words, he did not make the ballot, and we're going to, yield to him in a few seconds to give us the background why he couldn't get on the ballot, why he has to opt and run as a write-in candidate. So a write-in candidate is a person that's seeking nomination and election without filling nomination papers to have their name printed as a candidate on the ballot by conducting a write-in or sticker campaign. All ballots must have an area designated as a write-in space. This space allows a voter to physically write in the name of a person other than those names already printed on the ballot, and thereby obtain a vote. A sticker campaign, same thing as a write-in, candidate, is when a candidate provides voters with stickers containing the candidate's name as registered to affix on the ballot in the area for write-ins. A voter need not to use the sticker to have such vote counted for the sticker, to have such vote counted for the sticker candidate. He or she can physically write in the name of that candidate. In other words, a voter can go to the voting, the voting, what is it called now? The voting site on December 22nd, and just if they, of course, they are registered voters for that district, they can just walk in and write Adyememi Oloruntoba's name on the ballot. There will be a provision already, I'm sure, for that section on the ballot so that people can write in your name, Adyememi's name, if they are not, in other words, if they didn't do a mail-in ballot, everything's kind of short-term now. It's kind of too late for mail-in ballot, but you can physically walk in and write his name as a candidate because he's running as a write-in candidate. And Adyememi, you have the platform, so welcome. And I also really would like to commend you for the audacity and the courage to step up and run for office, because we have in the Bronx where you're running, that's where the largest population of African immigrants reside. So it is really heartwarming when we see one of our own step up and step up to contest to represent the community. We're really very proud of you. So I'm going to yield to you to just give us some background on, why you're running as a writing candidate. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. I really want to appreciate your effort and the organization's quest to hear about my candidacy and to have me here. So I'm not taking it lightly. I tell you, even if it is only one person that I'm speaking to, it's worth the time. So I want to appreciate those of you who are able to call in. Everybody is coming from work or you're driving, but you still make it here. So thank you very much for being part of this conversation. Like you rightly said, I'm a writing candidate in the sense that from the explanation you made, when someone is not on the ballot, there's always a provision to be a writing candidate. And that is what I'm doing. For this particular seat, especially, we're expected to get about 450 valid signatures as petition to qualify to be on the ballot. When I went out to seek for signatures, we came back with about 1,200 signatures,
Okay.
which definitely was 3 times what the Board of Election requested for. But the challenge that I had in my own candidacy was that this office was meant for next year in the first place. There was an office that I was trying to run for in June 2000. Sorry, let me conclude this. Sorry about that. It's an office that I was getting ready for to run for in June.
In 2021.
Sorry. It's an office that I was getting ready to run for in June 2021.
Mhm.
But something happened to the occupant of the seat. He was expelled, the councilman,
Yeah,
and by electoral law, 45 days to the day of announcing the seat to be vacant, somebody got to be elected. So that prompted the idea of this special election.
mhm,
So on the petition that was made for 2021, all I did was to go to that petition and I just changed the date, the month, and the year, and also put somewhere special election December 22nd, 2020,
mhm.
because it was already made for 2021. So, but on that particular form, there is a word there. It's called designated and independent nomination.
Okay,
So designated in the sense that one has to be designated by a political party. But when it was changed to special election, it means it's a non-partisan contest.
I see.
So when we printed out that particular paper, we did not take out the word designated. So my paper has designated an independent nomination.
Okay,
So we went ahead, we collected our signatures, we submitted, and now, for people that have been part of this before, everybody want to outdo the other. So some of the contestants, they want to make sure some of us did not make the ballot. We're about 9 of us. I received 2 objections. Objection in the area that they want to challenge your signatures as if maybe one person signed for a whole family, or maybe they want to say that person is not a voter, is not a valid person. There's so many things they do to make sure they reduce your signatures from whatever it is less than 450. So 2 candidates challenged my signatures, and I was able to overcome that because personally, I single-handedly collected almost 75% of my signature. So I knew who they were and everything. So we survived that. Then towards the end, they came up with this idea that my form has the word designated. And with that, it was meant to be a petition for June 2021.
I see.
We went to the Board of Election, they summoned us to hearing, and I challenged them that it was a typographical error. because on the same form, it was there to say it's a special election to, and the date was there, December 22nd, 2020. So I was trying to establish the fact that the people that signed this petition knew they were signing for me to get on the ballot for special election. So there was no undue advantage to say, okay, I'm collecting signature for June and I want to use it for this. So those are the arguments back and forth here and there. But at the end of the day, they said, no, it's a legal document. So it has to be the same way it's supposed to be and this and that. And they said they will not recognize it. So they now charge me on the basis of improper petition. So then when I look at it that way, I follow, I was like, the whole criterion to be on the ballot is to collect 450 signatures.
Right.
But I have about 1,200 people signed for me. It's going to be somehow for those people to know that they signed the real thing. I mean, they signed for me to be on the ballot, only for them to say that the paper that I gave them was wrong. So it's not the signature now, but the paper. So we started that argument back and forth, and they said, okay, my only option is that if I so much believe these people want me to be on the ballot, but because of the paper, then I could go in as a writing candidate. I just need to get back to my base, talk to them, and then they will still write my name in and I could still win the election. That is how we get into writing candidacy.
Right. So the option, you didn't realize that that option was open to you to actually contest as a writing candidate, right?
No, I never knew that. I thought all the other elections, you just got to be an independent to do such.
Right.
But I didn't realize that, it's possible because now this election is non-partisan. So it's more or less, it's an independent election.
Right.
So anybody can just get up and say they want to be a writing candidate. And even I've tried on my own to even be on the ballot. We actually have two other individuals that didn't even try, that just got up and said they want to be a writing candidate.
And they
I'm
were.
not the only writing candidate for this election.
So you said there were another candidate, or there were other candidates that step in to run, and did they add
Yes.
their name to the ballot?
No,
Oh,
these people did not even collect signatures. They just want to be writing candidate from the beginning.
I see. Okay. So I mean, there is, I suppose, some disadvantages to running last minute and also running as a writing candidate. From what I have researched, you're missing out also on public funds, right? Your
Definitely.
opponents, Pamela
Johnson.
Johnson and Kevin Riley, they have collected so far, I mean, in total, $177,000 and $913. $177,913. So if you had made the ballot, you would have qualified for public fund, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So that's a huge
So,
advantage in
so
terms of
yes, to
people
qualify
that-
for public funding, there are two criteria one is to meet.
right.
One of them is you need about 75 people in the local area to donate to the campaign. They have to physically donate to the campaign up to 75. Then we also need to raise up to $5,000. So, and for this election, because it's a special election, the
Right.
maximum donation from individual can only be 500. So out of that 500, $175 of the 500 for anyone who is a resident in New York City will be counted towards 5,000. So if I could get enough people who donated up to $175 to add up to 5,000, that
Mhm.
would have made someone to be on the ballot.
I
So
see.
once you qualify to be on the ballot, for every dollar that is donated up to 175, the city will match it with $8.
I really, again, I commend you. And this is why United African Coalition, was founded to be a political institution to support candidacy in our community, African immigrant candidate, because what you're looking to do, what you've attempted to do in 2012 and you're doing now is commendable. And it takes a lot of time and resources, especially human resources, even when you don't have the money. If you just have, boots on the ground, you can get things done. But again, in our community, it's a challenge to get people to come out and support and volunteer their time. So I really commend you. Having said that, this is a serious challenge in terms of your opponent. You know, the two Pamela and Riley that you're running with. Um, but we feel that United African Coalition, we were considering inviting you to this forum. We wanted to reach out to those candidates, but we really didn't because it's like last minute, and we didn't think that that was the best route. And we also feel that you don't have, we didn't see that you had a platform that's larger to really make your case. So that's why we felt that we'll use our resources, our network, to bring you to this platform, so that even though your opponents have the funding and they probably have more network and so on, we wanted to do these, you know, to embrace one of our own and support you. And that's why we have invited you here. And this means a lot to us. And I
Thank
am
you
sure
very much.
that, you know, people would also appreciate hearing from you. Now we're going to get right into this. I'm going to just give a little background about you. So for those of you that joined a little, you know, a few minutes later, what Adyememi was doing was just giving some background as to why, you know, he's running as a writing candidate as opposed to being on the ballot. So we covered that. So I'll give you a little background based on your resume here, that you're president of Parents Teachers Association, PS68X, president New York State American Legion College Alumni Association, vice president Wakefield Taxpayers League, vice president-elect NAACP Co-op City Branch, chairman Bronx Oratorical Speech Contest, association member National Council of Negro Women, past deputy borough chief Bronx CERT program, past president Rotary Club of the New York of the Bronx, past committee chair Bronx Community Board 12, and former member 47th Precinct Clergy Coalition. That's a, you know, that's a formidable resume, absolutely, that you, with your background, and we've known you for a while. You know, I've known you for about 10 years now, and you're one of the leaders in our community. So there is no doubt that some of the members of our African American community, such as yourself, are definitely uniquely qualified to run, you know, as a candidate. I mean, as to run for public office rather. And a lot of African immigrants, as you know, have actually run for office. And in the last 10 years, there's been a lot increasing numbers of Africans have stepped up to run for office. But so far, the only person that has won so far is Charles Fall, Assemblyman Charles Fall on Staten Island, representing North Shore, Staten Island. United African Coalition endorsed him. We supported him. We were out there, you know, raise funds and, you know, canvassing, knocking on doors and everything for him. So he won. So he's the only one. And he's also, what is it called, first generation American to Guinean parents. So, but we're so proud of him, he won. So we're looking for more African immigrant rightly to take positions because we are, you know, more than qualified for the job. So having said that, what, you know, with your experience in the community, with this resume and your background, what makes you, in your own words, what makes you uniquely qualified for this position that you're running for?
Thank you very much for those taking time to read the resume. Definitely, ordinary person. If you don't know me, those are threatening resume or compelling resume for anybody to be scared. But the only challenge here is the fact that somebody will say, I was not born here. But apart from that, I have all it takes to even be appointed for this office. I didn't put it there with my background in terms of education. I actually studied medicine before I came to America.
Mm,
I studied medicine and surgery in Nigeria.
mhm,
And when I came here as a transfer student, I have to go back to undergraduate to study biology. And after that, I had a master's degree in health services, Master of Science Administration. And then, so I believe with my scholastic experience
mhm,
and professional background of being an ex-military officer and also ex-police officer, with the challenging situation of the country, or let's say the global arena today, which is social injustice, I stand tall to fit into any office to be able to handle this particular issues as it affects the community for now. The pandemic has changed the narrative of the globe in terms of election worldwide. And it's also the same thing at the local area. And we can also tell that what is ongoing, nobody has an answer for what is to happen as a nation and even as a district. But the more you scale it down to the lowest minimum, District 12, where I belong, was the epicenter of coronavirus in New York, meaning they have the highest rate of this COVID-19. So, and you want to ask yourself, why was this? As an individual, I got sick of the COVID at the early stage.
Oh, I see.
My experience was that I spent 56 days in the room without even going nowhere. For 2 weeks, even though I'm a veteran, I couldn't have access to testing for them to even say this is what I'm suffering from.
Sure.
Every time I call, they refer it to 311, 311, regardless of whatever you tell them, they will tell you that is not what is what you're dealing with. Right. So for 2 weeks, I was denied access to be tested. And when I finally got access, I think I got it through the state, not through the city. And the day they gave me an appointment, they gave me an appointment for 1 week. Like I got the appointment today, they said in 1 week, I should go for the testing. So that 1 week, I went for the testing. It took another 2 weeks for the result to come. This is the point I'm trying to make here. When you look at the history of this virus, we're talking about this 14-day quarantine that everybody got to go through, asymptomatic or symptomatic. So that means if truly you go by all the narrative of COVID-19, I should have been dead before I'll be tested. One, I should have been dead before my result will come. So I should have been dead even when they now asked me to quarantine myself. All this while, I was living with my family. I have my 2 kids and my wife. We were living together because we didn't know if I had the disease or not. So coming to this particular office in a time like this, one thing I know for sure, based on my background, is that I'll be able to make sure that we enough access towards what could prevent the spread of this disease. We'll be able to have it, the PPE. And I'll give you an example. When I finally got well, my first time coming out was May 28th. Because even though I was sick in the room, my own people, like I'm the commander for the veterans, they kept reaching out to me. But then nobody knew I was sick because I told my board members, and they said, Toba, don't tell everybody because they're going to be scared. So even on my sick bed, I was still receiving calls of people that are sick, that are dying from my group. So my first day of really coming out was May 28th. And we were to have a service, memorial service. So when I came out, the first thing I was trying to look into is how to get this PPE. So I wrote a letter, a nasty letter to the mayor's office, and they responded. And I told them my veterans people were not taken care of. We don't have PPE, we don't have sanitizer. They said, okay, they will drop something for me. How many do you need? I said 1,000 PPE. They brought it, it's like a liner bag full of something. I said, is that all? They said, yes. I said, I think we will need more. So before the end of June, I was able to have my office stocked with almost 15,000 PPEs because I complained. And from there, we started giving them to the community for free. From there, they keep supplying it to me. As an individual, I was able to bring to my community over 50,000 PPE that were given out to the community, just as an individual. And also after that, I also figured out some of my constituents, they were logged in. They couldn't go out. They were not doing anything. So even if you said stay home to prevent them from catching this virus, but at the same time, they're hungry. So I sought for how to be able to feed these people. And that is how we started the issue of giving out food in the community. Every week now, I give minimum of 500 boxes that go to the community during this pandemic. I was able to do this not from elected official, not from any other person, but just through fighting for access. So if I come to office, that is one thing that I also want to do. It's not as if these things were not there. but we don't have access to them.
Making sure
And our
people have
people,
access to resources, especially in an emergency like this.
exactly.
Yeah, and COVID is so, goes without saying, it's a unique situation. It's a global pandemic. So even people that were prepared for it, it still affected them, significantly. But there's no doubt that it's affected, the Black community disproportionately. That's without a doubt.
Sure.
So the district that you are running for is 60% of the population of that district is Black. And interestingly, according to the census report, 12% of the population in that district are Africans. So, and I'm not sure, so as you know, it's not just about the qualifications. If we're talking about qualifications, Hillary Clinton would have been the president, right? If we're talking
Yes.
about qualifications, just qualifications, Donald Trump would nowhere, there's no way that he would even be least qualified to run for office. So it's not just about qualifications. You understand, the Bronx is is the poorest borough in New York City, according to several reports. And again, 60% of the population in your community are Black. So you're talking about access to resources, that's key. What other issues are you looking to tackle? Definitely, it's going to be for a while. Food food desert is a serious issue, especially now that people are now working and a lot of people have lost their, I guess a lot of people, not I guess, a lot of people have lost their jobs. So what are you, aside from making sure people have access to resources, and then understanding that it takes more than your qualification or your education to really be able to contend in this election, what in your past experiences, for instance, 12 years ago when you ran, from what you said so far, you've been thinking about running for this for a while now. You were actually, targeting June 20, what is it called?
June
20,
2021.
2021. But emergency happens, like pandemic hit us, and Andy King, the former council member for that position, got expelled. So all of these things you were not anticipating, but you had 12 years because you ran 12 years ago. So the question is, how have you prepared, other than this emergency that happened upon all of us, and other than you realizing that yes, people do not have access to resources, and it's really glaring when there's an emergency like this. What in your past 12 years, in the past 12 years, what experiences have you actually learned to prepare you for this position that you're running for now, for this seat that you're running for, District 12?
Thank you very much for that question. That was actually a question that I wrote behind my door, so that when I'm ready to go out every day, that is what I see. And that was what I was trying to get into. One thing that I did was involvement. Because even when I ran in 2012, I ran because I was getting closer to the city councilman then. We always have conversation, and I was trying to say, okay, what was he doing, and all those things. I didn't know too much about the office and even the environment, but I know for sure as an individual that I could learn through the office. That was the basis of running in 2012. But when I lost, I didn't consider as if I lost. For my name to be on the ballot was a winner to me, what I did in 2012. And I was happy that I was on that ballot. But the first thing I told myself is, if I have to do this again, what will make me more qualified than I was in 2012? So that is what I started working on. One, I started joining organizations
Mhm.
where conversations are being held. The people that really matter in the community where they belong, I started moving closer to them, listening to them. Even those people that were serving as our leaders, I was also getting closer to them. Even the guy that eventually, the city councilman that beat me from the office, I decided to make him as a friend to learn what he was doing and just see if I was the one, what would I do different? So to cut the long story short, I find out that in all these organizations that I was trying to join to learn of them, I ended up rising to the top of those organizations. And that is why you see that resume that is as big as that, because I was involved. I was trying to learn. Before you know it, they want me to lead them because they felt that I understood what they stood for. And that is what I was doing. So I became spread with all these organizations. One, I also made a sacrifice for myself, the job that I do. It's not the top paying job for me by my qualification, but it was a job that gave me enough room to be able to do so many things in the community. I work from home. I have an home office. So I could go to any meetings. I could be sent to anywhere at any time without affecting my daily job. And those are the adjustments that I made. So it got to the point that sometimes when people needed something from the elected officials, somehow they directed them back to me. So I see a situation where I became the third force in the community, because some people will call me for certain things. Say, how did you get my number? They said the councilman said they should call you. How did you get my number? The assemblyman said they should reach out to Toba because of what I was doing. I live in one little space in the Bronx, but I'll tell you that I'm the president and vice president of 3 block associations, places that I don't even live. And it's not as if I went there. They actually sought for me to be part of their group, just to keep the group going, because
There's no
I
doubt
was in the
that,
community.
yeah, thank you. There's no doubt that, you are a community leader and you have a strong network. So do you see, are you able to leverage, some of that network and build equity for me to help you win this election? Because again, as we both agree, it's not about just qualification. You have the network, you've built equity by being part of all these organizations. How do you then consolidate that for your desired result? I mean, considering that, you're the only African immigrant running, and that's a beautiful thing, nothing against that, that's why we're here. But you have Pamela Johnson and Kelvin Riley, and as I said earlier, African immigrants don't win. A lot of, members of our community have stepped up to run for office, but they never won except for Charles Fall on Staten Island. So are you confident that this network that you have built and built equity, and are you able to leverage that towards this election? What is that looking like for you so far?
Yeah, I think I'm able to leverage that. But winning the office will depend on one thing. I remember in 2012, when the different group of organizations were reaching out to me, I ended up in a particular forum where we have about, I believe, 10 or 11 labor unions in the same room, and they want to see if they can actually endorse my candidacy. There was a question they asked me. They said, where is your strength? Who do you think, for you to come here, will be able to win election for you? That what is your background? At the time, I told them, because I'm an African, Africans will vote for me. Because I'm a Christian, Christians will vote for me.
Mm.
And because of my community involvement, then I will also share part of it. The only thing that worked for me was my community involvement.
Right,
Africans, they were not in the room for me.
right,
When I look at the election that was done, Africans are like 1%. So-called Christians, they were not there for me. When I look at it, they didn't even show up. So the only people that actually helped me in that election were the people that I was involved with in the community. For instance, every member in Rotary Club, they maxed out their contribution. At that time was 1,200 and something. Every member maxed out for me in that organization. I was the president then.
right.
No, I was not even the president. So it was later I became the president. But that was the only outfit. And that is why this time around, I want to yield back to our African community to be able to educate them, to know what they needed to do. And that is the only way I can win. Because these other organizations that I belong to, the same category of people that are running, they might not be in everything like myself, but they are also there.
Right. And that's the reality that you're facing or you're faced with. And in the sense that, you know, someone's religious affiliation does not really, like you said, the Christian didn't show up. I mean, it's not about being a Christian or being a Muslim or whatever the people's of faith is. It's about the community engagement and community involvement. That's where the number is. And
That's
for
true.
now, we can all testify that Africans, not because they don't want to support, some of them don't have the time, some of them don't care, some of them don't know. And we're here now. We continue to reach out and educate our community. But this time around, I was just, wondering again, the community relationship that you have built with all the other organizations that are not African organizations. Are you confident that a good percentage of that, you know, network would turn out for you to vote for you?
Yes, I'm
Especially
confident.
that you're running as a writing candidate.
Yes, one for sure, the Veterans Organization,
Hmm.
they will be out for me because the organization that is working for me is actually beyond the district because I'm also the vice commander for the Bronx. So they are working with me, telling other veterans. So my own organization itself, they took it like a job. They are the people that form the bedrock of my team,
Hmm.
and those are the people that actually vote as well. They're not they're not young. They're the people that go to the poll. So the only area that I want to tap in now is to be able to ginger the African community. It's not as if they don't have the time. Nobody has the time. Even we could have been doing something else by coming to this Zoom. It's
Right.
about passion. And what I've found out from relating with the African community is that they don't understand. Some of them still have the mentality of how it was done from wherever we came from, as if it's the same way. For instance, when I asked people for donation, I saw somebody gave me $5. When in real sense, if we are having conversation, such individual will not even think of La Crown, I will give you $5. But because I needed the individual to count for that number of district constituents, people that will donate to make 75, I still have to collect it.
Right.
You understand? Because they don't understand. So what we need to do is to educate them. One of the reasons why I'm actually coming out, it's not really for myself, this election. It's about if I can do it to somebody somewhere, they feel like, oh, it is possible. The first time I ran, I think I was only 7 years here. Some people felt like, no, it's not possible. Why will you do that? But when they saw me on TV, people started calling me, oh, we didn't know you were serious, this, that, and all those kind of stuff. So after that, everything died down. So this time around, I also want to make a point to our people that, hey, we live here. So this is what they are doing. Let's be part of it. So, and that is one of the reasons why I'm running. And that is why I really want to reach out to our base in this election. Thank God it's a local election, that everybody is not lost in the general one. So like you don't live here, you're not in my district, but the same thing is not happening in your area. That's why you can focus your time here. Dr. Bola is here. They're
Right.
not voting in his area. So if we can use this special election to actually make that point, when we get to June, we're still going to go back to election, to the poll again in June. Whoever wins this election, we're going back in June again. So by then, there will be more awareness among our people.
Thank you so much for elaborating. I mean, as you're well aware, again, you were part of the Urine in 2012, and then the former occupant of the seat, Andy King, was just expelled in October. And then you have two candidates, strong candidate running, Pamela Johnson and Kevin Riley. And people are actually saying one of those candidates is actually going to, one of those candidates is going to win this election. Having said that, what makes you, what would you do differently than, well, Andy King? I don't think I really want to go into what Andy King did or did not do, why he was expelled, because he was in that seat for about since 2012. That's quite a long time as well. But the other two candidates running, Pamela and Kevin, Pamela and Kevin, what would you do differently? What makes you a better candidate, or maybe a different candidate? What can you? Yeah, I think that's the question.
Okay,
What makes
I
you a
think I
better
got I
candidate?
got your question. I understand your question. This is one thing I will say. Actually, my platform for running this election is building community together. That was my slogan
Mhm.
because I believe that it's not really about me. Knowing fully well, this is a legislative arm of the government. It's not an executive position that one would think I will do this, I will do that. No, it's just a position for people to make policies.
Right.
So, and I believe that whatever policy I want to get involved, I have to carry my people along. So it's about what the conversation we're going to have in my district that I'll actually take to City Hall to canvass for what could come here. We have about 53 of them. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. But I can only make case for my people based on what we need. That is one. Number two, these individuals that are running, take for instance Kevin Riley. He just says he's not somebody that is known in the community. But
Okay.
the only weapon is that he's a staff, or let me say he was a staff in the speaker's office. And the speaker himself actually is the speaker for the state, but not the speaker for the Bronx. He's just an individual, an assemblyman that covers one district, 83rd district. This council district actually has two assembly districts in it. So Kevin Riley, as an individual who is only known in 83rd, which is the same place that I live,
Mhm.
but we still have 82nd as another district. The same thing with Pamela. Pamela also lives in 83rd district. But I happen to have an office in 82nd. And that is where everybody actually knows me, in 82nd district. These people, they're not known in those districts. They're only known in 83rd, which is where I have a home. But my office is in 82nd, and I spend most of my time in 82nd. That is where I am the commander of the veterans. So I'm an individual that is actually spread across the whole district. I belong to NAACP, like I said. I'm a vice president elect for NAACP in Co-op City. Co-op City is in 82nd district, but I'm actually a member of NAACP in Williamsbridge, which is 83rd. The same thing with National Council of Negro Women. I'm a life member in Co-op City, but I'm a member in 83rd, which is Williamsbridge. So because of today that I was thinking about yesterday, I was able to spread it that I have leverage on the ground in the district.
Right.
So
And
these other candidates, they don't have it.
yeah, it's still really dark. We can't really see you. And if you're a candidate running, you want to be in the light, you really should be in the light. And so you, in your, answer a second ago, maybe this is a better picture. Leave that picture on because yeah, we can see you. That's really great. So you refer to your people. Who are you referring to by your people? As you know, the African community are now going to deliver this election. First off, the 12% of Africans reside in District 12. Second, and most important, they don't turn out to vote. So you really cannot count on Africans to deliver this election. I mean, definitely Africans will show up. That's why we're doing these forum with you so that we can sensitize people and also help you get people out to support you. But by saying your people, who are you referring to? I really need you to kind of clarify.
I'm actually referring to the veterans,
I see.
because veterans in Co-op City alone, for my organization, were like 200, but those are American legionnaires. Those are the individuals that were in the service in time of war. We do have veterans that didn't fight war. They were not in the service when there was war. They went in, they were able to come out before any war would break out. So those are veterans generally. So
Right.
we have about 2,000 of them alone in Co-op City. So that is my primary constituent now.
Right. So what about, I mean, because you're zeroing in on a particular, demographic, the veterans, and that's great. But what is your overall strategy in terms of other, members of that community that are not veterans? Again, the population of the 60% Black, and you also have white population, Hispanic population. Hispanic is, it's a huge population, a huge demographic in that community. What strategy have you used so far? I mean, it's kind of like there's a week left. What strategy have you used so far, aside from the veterans, to really reach out to all those mix of, or demographic in that community?
The only strategy we have used so far is the idea of all these other organizations that I belong to. I'm actually a community organizer for this area, apart from being the leader of the veterans. Like the Wakefield Taxpayers Organization is an organization that is more than 100 years old.
Okay.
So I'm the vice president. So I use that platform most of the time to reach out to the other side of the Bronx. Just recently, we're trying to uh, organize a protest against too many homeless shelters
Right.
in our neighborhood. And
That's
I was the leader,
right now.
I was the initiator of the protest. So through that, I've been using that tool to reach out to the community so that they know this is what I do apart from that.
Right. By the
So
way, I hate to interrupt because we're running out of time and I want other people to chime in and ask questions, especially Dr. Motosho is on. He ran for office, is very well versed in when it comes to the politics of this country and this city and the Bronx community. And Jane Adams is on, and Jane is also a member of, he lives in Co-op City. So, but before I go to them or before I want you to answer this particular question. What about the NAACP? You're the vice president elect NAACP Co-op City branch, correct?
correct.
What are they doing? Are they endorsing? Are they endorse you? I mean, if you're the vice president,
I didn't want to go to that publicly, but because we are this type of forum is okay. I'm the vice president elect. They'll support me, but it's on individual basis because we
not
cannot use the organization to say we endorse any candidate.
why is that? I mean,
Because of the status of the organization. It's a 501 for whatever category it falls to. So they do collect money as a not-for-profit um, human rights organization. So individually they can endorse, but as a body they cannot endorse. So those people, they're also working for me on an individual basis. The another organization is National Council of Negro Women. It's
right.
just like a
What about
sister
them?
organization to NWCP. And I'm the associate member in the group. In fact, we're going to be having a forum in another 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm into these two groups because this district is kind of two in one. Co-op City Serve exists on its own. All these organizations, they are there. We also have the same organization on the other side of the district. And I happen to be a member in both of all these organizations.
Do you okay? Do you have an idea how? I mean, are these people supporting you? I'm talking about the NAACP and also the National Council of Negro Women. Can you kind of weigh? Do you have an idea of the level of support that they're giving you? Do you think it can help you win this election? Because those are really
They can help me because, for instance, actually, I was the leading candidate for president of
like,
NAACP.
can you
But
count on it? Have you had the conversation that gives you the the what is it called, that convinces you that you can count on those two organizations? Or
yes, in the sense that they believe that if I'm in the office, I'll be able to do more for them than what they have benefited from the previous organization, councilmen.
right.
So, in that type of conversation, that's what I can think of. And most of them, they carried my petition. That is another thing. They
Okay,
were the people that actually went out to get signatures for me.
that's great. Because that's what we when we build community partners and relationships, we need them to be the backup, and that's very 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 important. So
Yeah.
now my last question for you, in terms of priority policy agenda, what are the three top policy agenda that you think you would explore to help your community, especially with the devastation of COVID-19? Just top three
One
projects for
thing
you
for
guys.
sure is this pandemic has changed the narrative
Mhm.
in every segment of election in anywhere. So one thing is to be able to make sure people get access to it. Like you said, Black people were mostly affected. The question I asked them in one particular forum is, why was it that? Is it our skin that caused us to be that? No, it's lack of access to resources that caused it. Most Black people, the jobs they're doing, they're the frontliners, but they don't have the necessity, the equipment to do those jobs. During the pandemic, they were the train drivers, bus drivers, and all those things. They're the caregivers. They have to go to the hospital. So all those type of jobs, they were the people involved in them. But
So
these
that
people were not equipped to do the
that's
job.
right. So that's
So
the
that's
policy
why
agenda. You want to make sure that you help people gain access to resources, free
definitely
access to resources, right?
access to resources. That's one. Then number two, public safety, which is my primary concern. You know, the level of injustice that we have seen in the environment is because of lack of order. You know, you see a whole lot of things going on. Public safety is key. I was a police officer before, and
Right.
I know when we went through the type of training we received, and also to see what is going on in the community, somebody like me will be able to speak the truth to to the authority that no, that is not how it should be done. And that is all you need to bring to the conversation.
Public safety. What's the number third item?
The third thing is about the youth in this neighborhood.
Okay.
This neighborhood is so backward that all the things that you need to bring up a child to compete with it, I mean, let me say, their category in the whole world, they're not there. I'll give you an example.
When you say that, what are you talking about? Quality education, or what are those things that you're talking
education,
about?
youth engagement. You know, education is not just about going to school,
Right,
which actually is
yeah.
one of them. Then the public schools are just like a caricature of what it's supposed to be. And it's because of we're here. Then there's no place for youth engagement.
Okay.
There's no sport facilities for them. The whole of this Northeast Bronx, where I reside, they have one public swimming pool. The whole area, not just the district. They have one public swimming pool that when it comes to the summer, people have to line up. Something that ordinary men will have in their backyard.
I absolutely, and I hear you and I agree with you. One more thing I want clarification on, maybe a little more elaboration a little bit, so I can go to other people on the line to see if they have any questions for you. You talk about you were sick with COVID, from what you said earlier, and you were home for a long time, living with your family, not even knowing that you had that was COVID that you were experiencing. So having said that, a lot of people in our community, the African American community, I'm so astounded as to the level of homelessness. Over 500 people that I haven't talked to them directly, but through other people, over 500 African immigrants are in the shelters in New York City. Because of COVID, they're not able to stay with their friends or family the way things used to be, that people would take them in. But COVID is a unique, invisible enemy that's just broken all social norms and so on. So for that, when you talk about access to resources, though, that translates to what? It's not just PPE. What else? That's a loaded, topic.
We have a challenge here in Northeast Bronx during this COVID issue. They brought some homeless individuals from somewhere that we don't know, and we have a facility that was meant to be an hotel, and the city said they will use it temporarily for just to keep these people. And then when it seems as if we're having control over the pandemic, every other district, every other borough where this was done, they returned these people. But in Northeast Bronx, they didn't do that. One big problem with this area is that you see a developer will come to the area, a 1 or 2 family house will be knocked down, and there is another, let's say, 5 or 6 story building.
Can you please translate that into a policy agenda? Just one simple good thing.
Overcrowding here.
Housing shortage, is that what it is?
Housing shortage, yes.
So
you have these developers that are taking advantage of people, but they build all these houses, but we cannot even afford them. If I'm in the office and a developer is going to come to my district, we have to have it in paper. How many of my people, I'm talking of the constituents, will actually have the units in those establishments before you can approve it for them. So we don't need a developer that will come from somewhere and all they will do is to raise the bar that our people cannot even get into those units.
There's some law.
A whole lot of that.
Isn't there some law in place for that already? When developer comes to the community, don't they have some sort of agreement that they would?
They do, but when you have corrupt individual, they look for their own pocket, and that is why they bring them. I used to work for the federal, but actually overseeing the city in terms of building. Adolfo Carrion, the former borough president, when he left the office, he became a developer. Some of these houses that we see around at the time, he was the one behind them. So when I went to actually supervise these things, what they said they would build in paper is not what we see. By the time
go ahead.
You go after them.
Sure. Yeah.
No,
go ahead. Please finish that thought. And
by the time you go after those individuals, you figure out that the one that said they're actually serving the people, they're the brain behind it. So they take advantage of ordinary persons. Somebody like me, I will call them out. I will call them out. I'm not going to allow it to work.
So thank you, Adyememi, really for taking the time. I would like to, Dr. Motoshaw is on the line, and Dr. Motoshaw, it was actually because of Dr. Motoshaw and the rest of the people candidate running for District 16 in 2013 that gave birth to United African Coalition. So this United African Coalition is the host of this event, and I'm actually the acting executive director for United African Coalition. So Dr. Motosho is the right person to yield to at this time to really just lend his voice to what your experiences have been having run for office yourself, and you know, what advice can you give brother Toba here, Oloruntoba Adyememi, that's trying to step into the shoes that you've been in, you know, in the past. Dr. Motosho, are you there?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I think I did. I'm in between another Zoom. That's why. Okay. But I think I had a question.
Okay.
Okay. Well, congratulations, my brother Lacrown. I have to be a little more personal in this case, you know, because anytime we have an African brother deciding to step up and run for office, it tells me one thing there and then. The person is more than ready to have his life x-rayed by the system.
Right.
And especially now that you have my brother here, who not just running for the first time, he had run before. And I wouldn't like to say that he lost. He did not lose. And he expressed himself very well that being on the ballot is key. And in my own opinion, money matters. That's one. Two, special elections are the easiest to win. Why do I say so? Because it's always a low turnout.
Mm-hmm.
And if one can identify like you said earlier, that it doesn't get buried in other elections. If one can identify his constituent, meaning those that are likely voters, and they actually get to the polls, which this time around, things are a little different with these mail-in ballots and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, so that will be a sure deal. And whatever my suggestion is, whatever we can do to support him, especially if you don't live in the district, to contribute to his campaign,
Mm-hmm.
so that win or lose. And why do I say win or lose? That will energize him, get him back into the ballot for the primaries in June, because this is just a special election.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a done deal that whoever wins the special election will automatically win the primaries again in June. So congratulations, and I doff my hat for you, sir, for taking this initiative. You've been preparing for it. You are well qualified for it. And I encourage our African brothers to give him, no matter where you live in the city.
And sisters.
And well, I'm referring, you know, sisters are the one taking charge now.
Right.
So it's an understatement to say and sisters,
Right. Right. Right.
you know. So
I hear you.
I'm encouraging everyone to please rally around him, and then let's produce an African brother in City Hall. It's long overdue.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, that's Dr. Motosho's endorsement and great words. It goes a real long way because he is very, is a veteran of that terrain. So he knows exactly what he's talking about. Jean Adams, are you still on? Hello, Jean. Okay, so Charles Safari, would any of you? Okay, Jean, you want to add to this?
I'm still here.
You live in Co-op City. So,
What did you say?
I say you live in Co-op City, correct?
Who, Gene? No.
Oh, okay. So I thought you live in Co-op
No, I live in.
City.
Nope.
I see.
Never lived over there.
Well, Jean, you're very, you know, familiar, most familiar with the African immigrant community and the larger New York City community. Do you have anything to add? Jean is director of collaborative education at the Bronx College. So he's a really strong member of the African community, and he's one of the people that we go to. He's our go-to person on many issues.
Yeah, I mean, I follow Dr. Bola always because of his experience and his perspective. But we know that, you know, these battles are won over a period of time.
Mhm.
So you may not actually win this particular election, but this particular election is really connected to a number of other initiatives that are going on.
Mhm.
And so by just being out front,
Which one is the unmute?
I think he's helping to
Okay.
bring forward other individuals who could very well, in time, be part of the landscape of political decision makers that help bring people into office.
Please, can you mute your phone if
Right.
you're not speaking? Can you mute your phone, please, or your audio? Mhm. All right, Jane, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Anyone else want to add anything? I see Henry Ukazu. Welcome, Henry. Any word of advice for Adyememi Oloruntoba? Okay, your audio is you're muted, so you
All right, so sorry.
hear you now.
All right, so I want to re-echo what Dr. Omoto just said. There's a quote by I think one of the philosophers from his world. It says the pack crawl so that Martin Luther King can walk. Martin Luther King walk so that Obama can run. Obama ran, maybe we can fly. So that means that there are people who have taken this step. The Tomato Show was there. I knew when we were campaigning. There's one other man they call Mickey Wachiku again has been there. And now we have the Dr. We have Tatoba. And I know more people will still be in the pipeline. The real thing I want to say is we need to do our best and get people out to vote. Like June Adams said, okay, this election off in a way, but then it's easier. We can still win it if based on what the Tomato just said with the group. So in one little corner, let us see how we can get our people to vote. 1 vote, 2 votes, 2 people. I live in Cup City, and I know what Cup City is all about. So we cannot really bank the Cup City as such, so we know we are this desperate. But we on ourselves individually can commit to getting somebody. I believe it will go a long way. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to add anything? And also, while we're waiting, you know, the election. On this line. When is the election? The special election is December 22nd, but early voting starts December 12th, right?
Correct.
Yes, and there's no, I mean, as far as absentee ballot, that's not even, it's a non-starter. It's too late for that. But people should, you know, people that live in that district, there's a way to find out where your polling sites, and that's what you know, Adyememi and his team can do for you, to help identify, to help point people in the right direction and make sure that they come out and vote. And I'd ask you a question before the next person speaks, and we can wrap up in about a couple of minutes. Adyememi, I'd ask you a question about who is going to be your poll watcher. That is a key. That's really key. Remember, now people are going to be writing your name in when they walk in, and those names must be counted. So you want to make sure you have a trusted, qualified person that knows what to look for, that will go there and they wouldn't say, oh, you can't come in, or who are you? And you give them the right credentials to be able to go in and make sure that your name is actually written in. That's very important.
That's true.
Right. Remember,
We're still working on that.
Okay.
I actually called the Board of Election today because what they usually do is that they said, give us your address. They will tell you where is closest to you. So
Right.
I told them, as a candidate, I want to know all the early voting centers.
You don't need to call them for that. That's online. We can help you with that. You don't
No,
need
yeah, it takes a while for all those things because the way they usually do it is you put your address, it will tell you which is closest to you.
Well, I mean, because that election is already posted as a special election, so definitely that information will be on the Board of Election site as far as
these people, the way they do certain things, it doesn't come that way.
All right.
Because we went into a whole long conversation today.
Right.
Before they agreed, they're going to send it to me.
Right.
If anybody calls, if you call 311,
right.
Even if you go to Board of Election unit, it will ask you to put your address because it wants to be specific to you.
Right. I thought you should be able to put your address and find where your polling site is. That's the way it works.
Yes, you should, but I was asking them for all of them.
All right. So those are key things, you know, house cleaning things that you need to make sure it's done. And we have to, United Health African Coalition can find a way to help you with those, you know, house rules, if that's what it's called, not what I said earlier. So you want to make sure that your people are able to go to the right location, and you want to make sure that they're able to vote. You want to make sure that we get the date out so people know that early voting starts December 12th, and the election is actually on December 22nd, that it can go to the polls. So these are the things that we would like to advise you need to keep up with. Considering there's a special election, there's not that much time. So you want to make sure that all those, you know, I's are dotted and the T's are crossed as far as those, you know, rules and the things that people need to do to ensure that your vote, you know, everyone that come out to vote for you, to ensure that those votes count. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Now, we can't have an issue saying we don't know where the polling site is. We can't have an issue not knowing who's going to go and watch the poll to make sure that your name is written on the, you know, as a write-in, to also make sure that votes get counted. All those things are very important, you know, considering that we don't have that much time. Yeah. So anyone
that's why I actually made the request today. So they're going to supply me with all the polling centers for early voting, because I told them I need to be able to send my representative there so that they will be able to monitor what is going on. But before that, it took a while for them to agree, because they want to just tell you where you need to vote. I said, no, I'm getting it for the campaign. So after a while, they send me a form, I sign the form, then they're going to send the list to me.
So you're saying that it's not actually online? People can't just go online and find the polling site, they have to send the list to you?
Yeah, if you go online, it will be specific to you. They ask you for address and zip code.
All the list. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay. So yeah, we offline, we can probably help you with some of those things. Yeah. Right. Anyone else? I see Chooks.
I actually have another meeting.
Yeah, Chooks just joined in. Welcome. We're just wrapping up, you know. Yeah, we cannot hear you, but right. You have to unmute yourself, but it's okay. We're wrapping up. So
apologies. Yeah, I did come on late, and I appreciate. I'm getting an echo. All right. Well, thanks, Buki, and sorry. We can talk offline.
Okay. Anyone else that's been here that wants to say anything? I'm looking at names here. I don't see this other gentleman's name. Okay, Mr. Okpara, do you want to say the last word? We cannot hear you. I'm not sure if you're speaking or not. Okay. All right, so thank you everyone. This has been really wonderful. And Adyememi Oloruntoba, we wish you all the best. You know, it's important that Africans come out. We're definitely uniquely qualified, and we're here. We contribute to this society a great deal, and our children as well. So we must continue to step up and run for office to represent our community. So I really commend you for the audacity and the courage to step up and run. We really wish you good luck. So we'll talk offline to see how we can better coordinate the next few days to help you as much as we can. Right?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the effort and the time that all of you have committed to it. So let's be hopeful. Like Dr. Bola said, this election is winnable. We have seen it before when the whole political gladiators in this neighborhood, they supported an individual and the person lost in the just concluded election. Elliot Engo, even up to Hillary supported him. Everybody you can think of. At the end of the day, he lost. So this is possible.
Hope is good, but we have to get people out. We have to get the money out while we're being hopeful. All right, wishing you all the best. Thank you all.
And I also need money. That's another key thing.
Money, always.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, and take care, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yeah.